Torah Od, Parshas Vayechi, page Mem Hey. Okay, shh. The pasuk says, Yehudah to Yehudah. It speaks about the greatness of Yehudah. So he says in a Yehudah Nikra, why was Yehudah called Yehudah? Apam Eidas Hashem, because Leah said, now I can thank Hashem. Which refers to the concept of thankfulness. Shebachlol is Yisrael, Shebachlol and Neshamas Yisrael made them anachnu loch. We submit ourselves, thank you. So in other words, it means thanks, and it means a level of bittul. But now that we're under the jurisdiction of time, she said, it's interesting, when Leah said, every aspect in Torah is eternal. After Yehudah was born, the fourth son was born, she said, now I can thank Hashem. That means not always can you thank Hashem in the same way. Now, she thanks Hashem, which means sometimes not, sometimes yes. So he says, but in the place, in the source, in spiritual realms, where the neshamas come from, is completely above time, and then Yehudah is constant. Because Yud in Hebrew represents continuously doing it, like it says, so in other words, you have like this. The pasuk says, Yehudah is Heidah with a Yud, which Yehudah, Yud with the Heidah means constantly thanking Hashem. It also means submission to Hashem on a continuous basis. Down here, which is under jurisdiction of time and place, it says, Hapam Eidas Hashem, now I will thank Hashem. Say, which is the level of Yehudah. So it's, okay, what does it mean? Now I'll thank Hashem. What, in other words, like this, what does the pasuk say? First, Reuven, Shimon, and Levi were born, then Yehudah, and then she says, now that Reuven, Shimon, and Levi are born, and I have Yehudah, now I can thank Hashem. Which means the level of Yehudah actually follows the Avodah of Reuven, Shimon, and Levi. That means after you have the Avodah of Reuven, Shimon, and Levi, then you can have the level of Yehudah.
Otherwise you could not have Yehudah first.
You cannot have Yehudah first. To explain this, what does it mean? So in order to understand this, we have to first explain what Reuven is, and then Shimon, and then Levi, and then Yehudah. Why was he called Reuven? Hashem Reuben. Reuven is two words. Reuben. Right? See. Which is the level of Re'iyah. And this level of seeing is Geiremes Hamshacha B'chinas Ava. Seeing causes the level of love. Why? Because Re'iyah is the same letters as Aryeh. Lion, Aleph, Reish, Yud, Hey, is the same letters as Reish, Yud, Reish, Aleph, Yud, Hey. Now, on the Merkava, Aryeh was Al Yamin, on the right side of the throne of Hashem, right? Aryeh was on the right, Shor was on the left. So Aryeh is the level of right, Ava, Chesed. And now, if Re'iyah is the same letters as Aryeh, that means that Re'iyah is the level of Ahava. The same thing, Reuven's camp was on the south. In a way of closeness, like it says, like a firstborn ripened fig, I see your forefathers. That's the level of Ru Hashem. What does the pasuk continue? When she named the baby Reuven, see, she said, Hashem saw my affliction. This is what Leah said. Ki ata yavani ishi. Now my husband will love me. Because they gave birth first, before Rachel. So therefore, Reuven represents the level of seeing, and it represents the level of ahava, love. How do we get this level of ahava? How do we reveal this level of ahava within ourselves? Is a level is takol b'rkoyed the malka, to look into the preciousness of the king. The is so ahava. Basically, through intellectual stimulation, you reveal the level of ahava. The is so ahava. Achetach beis l'davka beyizbarich, until it wants to cling to Hashem through meditation. Okay? So therefore, and because of this, Niskenu Psuka de Zimra, the Chachamim established before Shemon Esrei. Okay, or for that, even before Shema. The ultimate is to come to the love of Shema, and to come to bittul of Shemon Esrei. Therefore, Shemon Esrei, you have to stand, no movement, no nothing, because Shemon Esrei represents complete bittul to Hashem. Reuven, though, is the level of Ava, and in order to come to love, it has to be stimulated. How do you stimulate love? We know, the Rebbe says in Tanya, that by nature, by a human being, intellect stimulates feelings. Because the emotions, the love and fear and all that stuff of a person is based on their intellect. Immature children have certain levels of desires. Supposedly more mature people have higher forms of midas. They love not little cars, they like big cars, whatever. But the level of ava comes through intellectual stimulation. What?
It seems strange to me that a person would say, I will not thank you for what you gave me first or second or third. Now you gave me the fourth child, now I'm thanking you.
That's exactly why the Alter Rebbe is explaining. We must say, therefore, that the ultimate level of thanks and submission, both things Yehudah, come only after the Aveda of Reuven, Shimon, and Levi. You're right, that's exactly the issue. Why are you saying thanks after the fourth time, not at the first time? She should say by the first one already, by Reuven, instead of Reuven, she should call him Yehudah, thank you Hashem. Right? So the Alter Rebbe is explaining, that's the point. Why does she say, now I will thank Hashem? Because in order to really come to that level, of course you say thank you, but to understand and appreciate the real level of thank you must come after Reuven, Shimon, and Levi. And he says, therefore we have Psuka de Zimra Vayechi Kedim Krishma, to come to the level of a Hafta B'Krishma. What's the ultimate purpose of talking about Hashem's praise? It's not for Hashem. Hashem doesn't need our praise, obviously. Hashem doesn't have an ego issue that he needs the praise of us nothings. Okay, like we said many times, a little bug at the end of the world, the other end of the world, is having a conversation with another bug. And they say, you know, that guy over there is a great guy. You think the guy at the other end of the world cares what those two bugs say? He couldn't care less. Yet the relationship between the two bugs and us, finite and finite, compared to finite and infinite Hashem, obviously there's no reason at all why Hashem should care about us. So this whole praise of Hashem is not for Hashem. What do you think? He cares less? He doesn't have an ego issue. What it means is, why does Hashem want us to tell the praise of Hashem? Because it's not enough to come only understanding it. It's a level of concealment. What does it mean, concealment? Intellect without stimulation is really nothing worth. It's worth nothing. Why? Like he says, Afilu gamba pur machtarta, like we learn many times. The Gemara says in Brachas, a ganif, when he's about to break into a house to steal, he davens to Hashem. Yeah, that he should be successful. So obviously, like we learned, he believes in Hashem. If he wouldn't believe in Hashem, why is he praying to Hashem? So he believes in Hashem. He obviously knows he's not allowed to steal because he's doing it discreetly and quietly. He knows he's not allowed to steal. So yet, he knows he's not allowed to steal, to the extent he's even davening to Hashem to make him successful in his thievery, and yet he does it anyway. Why? Because obviously his knowing is worthless. The knowing doesn't affect him in any way whatsoever. Like we learned many times, by secular knowledge, secular wisdoms, the knowledge has nothing to do with your behavior. In other words, I could be a brilliant doctor, I could be a top doctor, and do everything unhealthy, and that does not take away from the fact that you're a brilliant doctor. You could be a moralist, okay? Like the Rebbe always gave this example, that there's a famous story, Aristotle was once caught doing an immoral act. And he was the preacher of morals and ethics. So a student said to him, you, the Rabbi of morals and ethics. So he said, no, I'm not Aristotle. In other words, when I preach, what I preach. And when I practice, what I practice. It has nothing to do with one another. I can preach, I can practice, and it could be two different worlds. And that it doesn't contradict it. No, because you're still a great doctor, you're still a brilliant doctor. By Torah, though, it doesn't work that way. By Torah, if you don't live it, like the Rambam says, a Torah chacham is noticeable. A Torah chacham, you can tell him right away the way he eats and sleeps and drinks and walks and talks, you can tell right away it's a Torah chacham. Because if the Torah wisdom doesn't come down into practical action, the Gemara says you should have never been conceived. The Gemara says, if somebody learns with the intent of not keeping, the Gemara says, simply means his embryo should have never turned over. Meaning, he should have never been conceived. Because Torah is synonymous with action. And action comes from love. I love Hashem, so I'm doing it. So he says, intellect itself that doesn't come down into a midah of ahava is worthless. In Torah, it's worthless. In the secular system, it doesn't matter. One thing has nothing to do with the next. You could be a brilliant mathematician and be immoral. Doesn't mean you're not a great mathematician. One thing has nothing to do with the next. Because secular wisdom, by definition, wisdom and action, like Aristotle said, no, I'm not Aristotle. It has nothing to do with your behavior. So the Alter Rebbe is explaining, Ru'uvein, which is seeing, right, must come down into the level of Ben, which is Midas, the offshoots of Seichel, otherwise it's nothing. And he says, Vahainu, which it means, by talking, praising Hashem a lot, to meditate deeply. The way Malchus of Hashem, which is the lowest of all attributes, is what creates the worlds. 1,000, 10,000 times 10,000. Yet Hashem is the only existent, and just like before Hashem created the world, He was the only existence. So what do we say in davening? The same way now that there is a world with infinite amount of creations, Hashem is still the only existence. That stimulation, that mental stimulation, intellectual stimulation, causes a person to love Hashem. And that's what davening is all about. You don't start davening with Shema. You don't start davening with Shema. First you have the meditation Psukkah de Zimra, and then you have the meditation of Birchas Krishma. Then you come to the level of Yahavta of Shema. V'amit is Shem Yichud, Shem Yachid. What is the real level of Yelik? We're saying Baruch Shama, Yachid Chei Olam Melech, V'amit is Shem Yachid, who shall avade, that he's the only existence. Ve'inyan Echad, what is the level of Echad? Shenim shel bechinas Aleph, that the level of Aleph comes into Ches Dalit, which are 7 heavens and earth, Shia B'Telem Nilchudi is Baruch, to become bottled to Hashem, meaning like this. We learned already, there's Yachid and echad. Yachid means, like we say, ein eid milvadeh. Yachid means the only one. There is nothing else but him. Echad means there's one. There's two, there's three. When you say there's one store, automatically that means there's another store. If you say it's the only store, it means there is no other store. Now, there's an advantage of Yachid. Yachid means only Hashem exists, nothing else exists. Right? Like you say, Yachid, Chei Ha'olamim. Melech Yachid, okay, there's a level of Hashem. Ein Eid Milvadeh means there is nothing but Hashem. Then there's a second level we learned many times, is a level of Echad. Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad means Hashem is one. Now, once you say one, it automatically means there's more. Okay, like you say, Yom Echad, Yom Sheni, Yom Shlishi in creation. So why do we say Echad by Krishma? Why don't we say Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Yachid? So the answer is because there's an advantage of Echad over the level of Yachid. There's a deeper level in Echad over Yachid. Generally speaking, Yachid means there is nothing but Hashem. Echad means Aleph Ches Dalet. So it says in Halacha, what are you supposed to think when you say Echad? So Halacha says like this: Aleph means one God. Ches is 8, is 7 heavens and earth. That means up and down. Dalet is the 4 corners of the world. So what is the person supposed to meditate when they say Echad? That the 7 heavens and earth and the 4 corners, 4 directions, meaning all 6 directions, up, down, all around, that is all batul to the Aleph. Why is that? What's the advantage of that? But over there you're saying there is a world. There is 7 heavens and earth. There are 4 corners of the world. What is the advantage over Yachid? So the advantage of Yachid is very simple. If it's there, we learned this many times. If you say there's an only store in a neighborhood, there's an only store, and it's doing well, it's very nice, but you don't know if the store is really good. Because you know why it's doing well? Because there's no competition. When there is competition, and the store still does well, the store is still number 1, right? That shows the uniqueness of the store. If it would be the only store and it's doing well, big deal. So it's doing well, there's no competition. How would it be with competition? We don't know. Echad means there is competition. There is 7 heavens and earth, and yet it's bottled to the Aleph. So there's an advantage of Yachid, of Echad over Yachid, and there's an advantage of Yachid over Echad. Why are we doing in Shema the level of Echad? Because the meditation that stimulates the love of Hashem is more when you think about the vastness of the universe. You meditate into Yachid. Okay, nothing exists but Hashem. Okay, very nice. You're meditating, not only. But here's a greater meditation. There's a universe that's how many light years in this universe, whatever, and billions of stars and trillions of this and that and that. And yet, all of these things are subservient to the one Hashem. That stimulates a much greater love of Hashem than the level of Yachid does. Because Yachid is not a meditation. Yachid, okay, only God exists, that's it. Nothing else exists. Here we're saying, no, there's infinite amount of things existing, and yet it's all batul to the one Hashem. So he says, that's the whole level of meditation that demands the Ava, which explains another aspect, like we learned many times. The Maggid asks, a famous question of the Maggid, how can you command somebody to love? Says you have the mitzvah in the Torah of Yehudah Hashem Elokecha, love God. So the Maggid asks, how can you command somebody to love? I can command you to do, I can command you not to do. You can hate something and do it anyway. But how can I command you on a feeling? Okay, let's say you were mean to me. You did terrible things to me. I hate you. So okay, you can tell me, you know what, you still have to be nice, you still have to do favors, you have to talk to them. But the feeling, how can you command somebody to have a feeling? Either I have it or I don't have it. So the answer is, the Maggid said, V'yohavta is not a mitzvah. What the Maggid explains it as follows. V'yohavta comes after the pasuk, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. When a person meditates into the concept of Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, the Maggid says, V'yohavta, this will cause you to love Hashem. Because intellect stimulates feelings. I can't command you on a mitzvah to love, or to fear, or to hate. I can't. There's a mitzvah to fear God. I don't fear Him. What do you want me to do? So the Maggid says the mitzvah is not to love and to fear. The Torah says intellect stimulates fear and awe, and love and fear. The mitzvah is to meditate, and that I could command you to do. A person can meditate. It's not a feeling. It's an intellectual exercise of meditating. So when I command you, the mitzvah is that Maggid says not to v'yohavta. V'yohavta doesn't mean you should love. V'yohavta in Hebrew also means you will love. So through the meditation, to Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, v'yohavta, you will come to love Hashem. If you meditate properly in the vastness of the universe, and it's all from one word of Hashem's mouth, so you can imagine how great Hashem is. What?
The Yehudah of Reuben is meditating and
in coming to love,
and seeing Hashem in your mind,
which stimulates love.
And that brings you to
Correct.
love. So he's the Yehudah of love. He's
Yeah.
the Yehudah of love,
It's the Vayechi of love. Correct.